We've been on lots of journeys together, but we're going to take a journey tonight into the world of Chiron. So welcome everyone to the Chronicles of Chiron, the lion, the witch, and the healer. Jessica and I are going to be talking all kinds of shit tonight about healing, astrology, different ways of healing yourself through these different modalities. First off, my name is Chrystopher. I am the AstroMedium. And Jessica, introduce yourself for everyone.
I am Jessica Tanselle, medium, spiritual teacher, and healer, and I'm so glad to be here tonight. You know, we talk about everything on here, and so I actually want to just steer left for a second.
Go for it.
I get where I'm going here. I get major cramps, okay? They suck. I've been trying to find different magic, and the reason I'm saying this is because Spirit wanted me to share these different pieces about healing and journeying and taking care of ourselves.
Yeah.
Something you said like triggered me to think, oh, part of my journey is actually how I'm fueling my body, how I'm treating my body, how I'm taking care of myself. And I've changed a lot of diet. I've lost 25 pounds.
So good. Congratulations.
Thank you. And doing healing. And so, but one thing that I thought about is like, I get these major cramps. So I've been trying essential oils mixed with like avocado oil to kind of help with the pain and the cramps, but different ways to take care of ourselves.
Well, it's so funny that you mentioned that because it's Monday now and this week is a little turbulent astrologically. The moon is going to be making a lot of different tense angles to different planets. So of course that part of your body's ruled by the moon. So, but regardless, we're leading up to the Saturday, February 27th, where this week will end with a bang, okay? And this month pretty much will as well, with the full moon in Virgo. And Virgo is that feminine sign of healing. And it's all about self-care and routines and sticking to things and seeing it and go play out in the long term. So it's so funny you brought that up because you're kind of going in that direction because that is what we're ready to manifest this week and on that full moon cycle. And Chiron, in my opinion, or in a lot of my studies, is also a ruler of Virgo. Mercury is the ruler of Virgo, but Chiron, because Virgo is the healer of the zodiac, she's the psychiatrist as well. She's very analytical, data oriented, but she has that Chiron energy in her, okay, which is like selfless transmutation. Let's just take that and turn it into a different frequency, no judgment, no ego. That's that kind of thing. And so you're basically talking about all these themes that you're already pulling in and experiencing. So I'm sure there are other women, especially with you, especially with what you're talking about, pulling in this energy, and it's probably their body getting ready to release and let go of something. And because the Uranus is very active under that full moon as well. So for those of you who are healing and on your healing journey, first, we're going to talk about some really interesting topics tonight, and ones that we're familiar with and experts on. But I also just want to share a little bit about astrology and how it can heal you as well. So Chiron is a factor, but astrology just gives you a way of seeing yourself in a new way and recognizing the ego and witnessing that. And that's really where all this is going to begin for us, is even wanting to heal or recognizing something that can be healed is what will stimulate where we're about to go next.
Absolutely.
Woo!
I want to know how you've been.
I've been very well, actually. I have been feeling a lot more like I work a lot, okay? I'm doing a lot. I'm trying to categorize and give myself more time to heal and express emotions and take my time. Like today I took the whole day off.
Yeah.
I felt guilty in some ways, but other ways I just laid there. I did get some stuff done. I didn't completely not do anything like I should have. But doing that and not feeling guilty about it and moving on and knowing I did that for me because I needed it, even if it wasn't convenient, that's healing in and of itself.
It's, you know what? Why do we pretend like we don't do that? Why do we pretend like we don't take days off for self-care?
Yeah, exactly.
It's so easy to be. I'm proud of you. Thank you for sharing that, because everybody probably needed to hear that. Oh, I need a self-care day.
You probably do. And I did. I rubbed some oils on me. I
You said it's coming up
I
this
ate and
week, right?
watched TV and just kind of vegged out, as my mom would say. And
Oh,
I
yes.
did get stuff done, but I also just didn't talk to anyone all day when I'm constantly people reaching out to me and needing something from me. And I love that. I want to be of service, and I do want to be of service, but I do have to be very careful that then I have friends like yourself who want to reach out to me and vent or feel better. Okay, I'm an empath. I get it. It comes with it, but also just because they haven't seen me in a while, and I don't even sometimes have enough to give them. So I'm like, uh-oh, but
Absolutely.
again, this goes back to certain, I look at astrology, so that keeps me in check a lot. Oh, I can understand why in the sky right now we're having a lot more of this positive pull forward, even though it sometimes feels like it's going slow. And there's more healing, of course. Saturn sextile Chiron right now, so there is an intense focus and drive to heal at this time as well and make those things a priority. But we're building to this energy that we planted the seeds on at the new moon in Aquarius. So we're already starting to pull that energy in and ready to manifest these new routines, new ways of taking care of the body. All of that is Virgo in the sixth house.
I have been working that piece at least for the last month. I feel like I've been maybe 2 on this routine, which is not, and it's not the same routine, but it's a routine that's very, like, got me on track in some ways.
Yes.
It's
Mm-hmm.
interesting you said that. And I wonder, like,
Well, it's interesting you said that. So obviously, just even though you don't
where
know about astrology, you don't have to know about astrology to
I
be
tune
in
into
tune
it.
with it. Maybe not be affected by it. I don't even like to say that,
No,
as if it controls our experience. You're just in tune with the rhythms and the cycles.
I'm in tune with it a different way. I'm getting my information just a little bit differently, but
Yeah,
that's
you're just existing through it without even knowing the specifics of it, which gives it more
perfect for
validity.
me.
Huh?
I said that's perfect for me.
Yes. Well, yeah, and exactly. Some people just want to be in it, and I totally get it. Sometimes I'm too much aware of what's going on and trying to pathologize things, and um, oh, that's Neptune square Mercury, and I'm just like, hold up, just have an experience.
I read something today that nothing is in retrograde right now.
That is true. That actually is not true.
We're
Sorry,
in,
that's not
okay,
true.
we're in the shade, right? Tell me. Okay.
Well, no, the North Node is still retrograde, but it is not a planet. So we still have something, North Node, it matters. It being retrograde matters as well. But we don't have any planets or asteroids in retrograde now that Mercury has gone into retro shade. Yes. But I love people are using that now. Yes, let's keep it going. Shadow period just seems kind of weird and kind of like, God, I got to do some work. No, it's retro shade. We're coming back to some of this reaccessing that energy. Yeah. We're kind of revisiting some things, and it's shady, it's not shadowy. It cools us off. It doesn't swallow us whole.
I like that.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's what we're in right now. So that's why we've got lots of new ideas that have come in. We've revisited them, and now we're revisiting them again. And it's funny, I bring up the North Node. Mercury will make a trine to the North Node here in the next week or so for the third time in the past month. So that's meaningful as well. We're mentally focused on getting in alignment with our soul's purpose and getting in tune with that frequency that our soul shot into this universe when we were incarnated. That intention it came forth with, getting in alignment with that more. We're allowed to dip out of that and kind of dance off of the path of that. It'll always bring us back because the soul is in charge, okay? But it lets you have that kind of like a feather. They're showing it to me like a feather. You have all these things going out here, but you have that core, like a branch even. So we'll get back to it, and there's a lot of focus this week on the North Node as well. Jupiter will trine the North Node. You better stop me because there's so much stuff going on.
Okay, well, before no,
You got to
because
keep me on track.
because they can find this in your forecast, right?
The one I will be doing, yes, actually the one I did on Thursday, yes.
Okay.
All about all this, yes.
Because I will let you talk about it, but you talked about it in your forecast.
Yeah, and they can go back to that. And
I love it.
really, this is all giving us more drive in our soul direction toward healing, but also greater understanding. And that's why we want to include some soul integrated healing. There's lots of different healing out there. There is talk therapy all the way to plant medicine. But when you're actually working with the soul on a soul level, since we're talking about the North Node, you've got two very specific healing modalities that are specifically pulling in direct soul energy without needing a medium or needing a channel. There is one, but it's more direct contact, and that's shamanic soul retrieval and past life regression therapy. You're accessing all the way down to the atomic level, the nuclear Akashic records. You're going there. So, and you have a lot of experience with that. So I definitely want to talk about that with you, and really the past life part, and because that's very interesting to me, as well as is shamanic soul retrieval, and how they intertwine in certain ways as well. But the way you go about them is very different. But you're also accessing subconscious and deeper, but even more than just subconscious, because that's very physical, right?
Even more than subconscious, because you're feeling it, you're hearing it, you're experiencing it, seeing it. When I do a past life, you text me this morning, and like 2 weeks ago, I had planned to do past life work. Well, last week my power went out. I couldn't do my past life.
Right. I remember.
Tonight. So this is spirit is asking for us to discuss this.
Oh,
and so
for sure,
it's very interesting. But when I do, so with I have had soul retrievals.
yes,
I do feel like some of our other healing work, there is soul retrieval work and that's what you were saying.
So, and actually I was going to ask you about that.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually going to ask you about that, because when I know a lot about shamanic soul retrieval and shamanism, and I've talked with Gina Millard one-on-one specifically, and drilled her with lots of questions, and I've read books on it, so I completely understand the idea and how it works and everything, but it is very different than the past life regression part that you do. But I also, when I read about it, I'm kind of like, isn't that what we're also doing during a plant medicine journey? We're journeying somewhere deep in the consciousness, or with soul energy, and bringing back parts of ourselves. Because when they describe that, I'm kind of like, well, what's different about that than plant medicine? But I get it. One is a chemical substance which holds frequency, and the other one is a sound, because shamanism, they use a lot of drumming. You use a lot of drumming. That's why I wanted to talk to you about this. So talk about the drumming.
So let me just say that really that's what Chrystopher and I are talking about on Monday nights, are different ways of getting your pieces back, of getting that retrieval. All of it is finding those pieces, healing those pieces, and bringing that soul piece back. This is just another form, literally called soul retrieval. I'm going to let you talk about that in just a second. I'll talk about life. Does that feel good?
Yeah, that feels good.
So yes, it is all calling pieces of us back, and you get to pick which kind works for you. And I hope you try them all. Gina Millard is one of my favorite people, and she is just this Zen, beautiful shamanic practitioner, and so humble. And if you're wanting soul retrieval work, I know that she's one person. She did a soul retrieval for me. But
and I've never had it done. So I know a lot about it, but I've never actually journeyed in shamanic work that way. I have journeyed with plant medicine. I've journeyed on my own through meditation, but never with someone who anchors and who is shamanic. I'm going to say shamanic because I understand Gina doesn't like to be called a shaman, because it's a shamanic practitioner.
A shaman will never call themselves a shaman.
Yes, because that would be too ego or late. I get it.
I think that's a whole thing.
I think I get it. When I've talked to her about it, I understood. I was
very particular.
Yeah, and I respect that. And it probably has a lot to do with indigenous cultures as well.
Of course, but do I know some shamans, and do I feel like Gina is a shaman? Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. For sure.
So, well, then let me tell you what my experience was with Gina, and we can talk about soul retrieval. Okay, so I've known Gina for a long time, since the beginning of my mediumship journey. And so at some point along my journey, a few years ago, I went and saw her for a soul retrieval. She's very good about asking you why you think you need her. And usually she's tuned into you before you come in to make sure that she's even the person for you. She's not just going to take you. She's going to ask Spirit, am I the person to treat this person at this time? And if you're not, she'll refer you. And if you are, she will bring you in. And she wants to see you. But I love that she wants to know, like, is this my work? You know, is this who I'm supposed to see?
Yes.
And then she asked me what I was going through that made me feel like I needed this work. I can't remember what I had going on at the time, honestly.
Well, maybe because you healed it.
Cool. I love that. And so after we talked, I laid down on her table. Like, I have a Reiki table, a massage table. It's the same. She's got it all set up with her shamanic tools, like soft bedding. She's got her drum. She's got her rattle. And she asks permission, and then she does the work. Really, I was in a meditative state. And when I got done, and I had some visuals that happened, things that I experienced, but she really, at the end, told me what information she got. Like, she had worked with my mother to heal some of the trauma that I had, but also my mother had. When you heal forwards and back. So you are healing your ancestors, and you are healing those to come. So, that when I bring those pieces in, and my mom was working with Gina too, to pull those pieces back in to heal my young child.
Very good.
But when those come in, you start to remember things sometimes, or your body might start to remember things, just like we've experienced in plant ceremonies, that your body starts to catch up, your emotions start to catch up. So you might experience that from a soul retrieval as well. I did not have that as much, but I have. So that was my experience with Gina. It was very gentle. It was very loving. She's very zen, very clear on her communication from Spirit, and has great information and insight.
Well, that leads me to wonder, it kind of sounds like past life regression, just with a different intention. And where because I understand shamanic soul retrieval is multidimensional. You can access other lives and things that maybe began from our linear perspective in another life, or through the DNA, the genetics, and things passed down. But how would that differ getting into it then? Because I've had past life regression therapies done, and they have all been similar. I noticed a common thread, stories that led me in and that sort of thing. So tell me a little bit about what you do as a past life regression facilitator.
I wanted to text Jeff Carter right now and be like, you ready to hop on this show and talk about
something? I would love to talk to him about
that. So here's my experience between the two. In the soul retrieval, Gina did the work. I didn't have to do anything. I laid on that table and I was breathing.
Got it.
Kind
of like DNA light activation.
You lay there, the work is done, they give you the info.
Yes, that's very much
probably different for every practitioner. Right?
Yeah.
I think so, because how I lead my meditations, I was thinking about it tonight. So when I do a past life regression, I will walk you into a meditation. I get you into a meditative state first. You're coming with me.
Yeah.
We're doing this together. And also, when I was trained to do this, I can just give you all the information if you just want to hear it. It's
right.
Not fun. It's not as fun for either of us, actually. But it is, I can still do it that way, because not everybody gets into it so easily,
right,
or able to visualize easily.
Right.
And also the reason we do it together is because I actually have been in past lives and been able to guide people to items or things to see. They don't always make me do that, but I have, and I love that.
Right.
So I'm guiding you into this meditation. I'm guiding you first to get your senses going, because like I always say, all of you that work with me and as students, your intuition, your sight is actually your feeling, your knowing, your hearing, and your seeing. So however you see, and even if your imagination has to get you going, I'm first getting your senses going. And then I'm taking you to your safe spot. Your tree is your safe spot. And then we walk down pathways to different lifetimes. And then I will guide you first to look at yourself. And then I'm going to tell you to first take a look around. Things we're looking for, people that are familiar. the family there? Are they somebody now? Are you experiencing in that lifetime? Did you experience a pattern that you're experiencing now? Did we go through multiple lifetimes and you're experiencing that same pattern? I had that happen recently. It was like, do you realize that in all 3 lifetimes it was the same thing, and we're talking about that today? So patterns, people you knew. I have, in one of my past lives, my father had hit my head on a rock in a creek. That father was a very dark, dark relationship in this life that I was abused in. I have a birthmark there.
Interesting.
My mother in that life was somebody that I also had some kind of soul contract with. So yes, Akashic records, because we have soul contracts, right? But so I had, those were 2 relationships that are gone in my life. And also it connected to another one that I had to make a huge healing from.
Right.
So we soul contracts, and we often go into lifetimes with people. Let's go back and figure out what ours was together. They just told me Egypt. Okay, I wasn't expecting an actual answer.
Well, yeah, I have, you should see all my Egyptian lore I have out here in my plate. I love Egyptian culture. I've always felt connected to it.
Okay, cool. Well, I love that. So I'm guiding you into it. It's really cool. And
so do they do that during shamanic soul retrieval? Is there, I guess it depends on the practitioner, but from what it sounds, the drum is, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to just say, I think it depends on the practitioner, because I didn't necessarily get walked through a past life. Whereas this, I'm walking you step by step by step.
He's doing the work, pulling it in, connecting to your energy, getting you into a state where she's able to blend. I get it. Yes. She's able to blend her energy, and it's this joint thing you all are doing together, soul to soul. I get it. And past life regression, you're allowing them to go deeper into their subconscious, which from a spiritual perspective, because there are past life regression therapists who are basically doing the same thing as a hypnotherapist who's just psychologically focused. Like I've had hypnotherapy done with someone who wasn't spiritual, and it felt very similar to the same things that were happening during the past life regression. There's a hypnosis happening and going to deeper states of consciousness, which from our perspective as spiritual people is where the Akashic records and all of the other lives that have been lived exist in the subconscious, because you're holding that in your etheric and astral body in each incarnation you come into.
I'm busting out. This is just so much of this has been coming up for me recently, and Spirit has been channeling it in. Past lives, jumping into that, re-experiencing that, the knowledge of those lifetimes are absolutely in our subconscious.
Yes.
They are available for us. And this is time travel, you guys.
Yeah, because time isn't, absolutely.
You can go back even in this lifetime and watch a memory and change it.
Right, which is what you're doing in plant medicine, what you're doing in EMDR. There's a lot of different things that do that, but this is doing it at such a high level.
Yes, and
so how I'm taking it.
So time travel, and also there are not only multiple timelines going at once. So here's my higher self up here. I'll be the one playing the marionette. Okay, so my higher self has you've got people visiting. I see it.
Huh? I'm guessing I'm seeing lots of sparkles.
I have to wait. Tell them I'm talking.
Flashes in my vision.
Okay, look. So my higher self. Imagine me looking down from heaven like this with the marionette. Yes. And I've got all 10 of these lifetimes. And 10 is a made-up number, because when I've got my Akashic records read and others, they're like in lifetime 101, 400. I'm like, what the what? Like, I don't even know how many lifetimes.
I got it.
But let's just call them 10.
Yeah, of course.
I get it. Am in pieces of these lifetimes. So this lifetime over here, if I've got a divorce happening or a major life change happening, I'm gonna feel that over here in this lifetime too. So
I can see that.
So as we heal it, it's healing these lifetimes also, but in one lifetime, multiple dimensions. This lifetime I've chosen, oh, thank God I'm here right where I am. Because in another dimension of this lifetime, I might still be on the floor somewhere.
Exactly. Yeah. And I definitely, those are things I think about a lot, is parallel timelines and things like that. So when you're working at that high level, you are working within all of those potentialities because it's that deep in the quantum field. And I get that because quantum physics even has a lot to do with past life regression and shamanic soul retrieval. And that's the direction I like to go. I like to understand it from a physics perspective and consciousness perspective as well, because you're going that deep, and it's within those boundaries, which are boundaryless, actually. I should say this is the boundary, but that's where you go beyond space and time, and that's where if you heal that, it'll trickle down into all different, you'll heal all the different, there has to be an energetic cascade of energy or a response to that that filters out somehow into different lives and different memories and things like that. That's where that real change comes from.
Spirit wants me to mention that that is important to protect. So if you are doing this work, you are opening yourself up to energy. And what they're telling me is to be sure that you call back all of your pieces from all timelines, all dimensions to the here and now. Mm-hmm. So just be sure you call your pieces back. And there are some that still need work, and why it's not like, well, why doesn't that just bring them all back?
Right.
Because there are some that have memory and trauma attached to them that need to do some work. Yeah. You got to get in and dig a little. Mm-hmm. And trust me, Chrystopher and I are here for that. You want to dig a little, we're going to help you dig a little. Mm-hmm. You know, so whichever method it takes. Yeah, I love it. You were so good at putting the words together. You were like, aha, you're approaching the one this way and one this way. Say that again. You know, you're like, one is approached from the subconscious and the other is done from blending. I love that. Good wording.
Yeah, I think you got it. Some of the things I've just said, I can't even remember. Like,
no, I just
might be somebody giving me a lot of this information.
Yeah.
But yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And for me, I want to know your opinion, which modality, because people are going to want to know this. They're going to say, okay, I'm working on something now. I'm working on the inner child, or I'm working on healing this trauma, or I'm working on healing this. Which one is better for certain desired outcomes?
What I'm hearing is, well, you cut out just a little bit, so I didn't, you said which is better for
certain desired outcomes.
So what right now what I'm seeing in my mind is the experience of soul retrieval. One is very calm and very gentle. They're showing me someone who might have the anxiety of doing either of these would really benefit from doing soul retrieval, because you don't have to do any work.
Right.
If you're nervous, sometimes it's hard to get into that meditative state.
That's a good point.
Do a past life regression. Also, if you don't believe in it and you wanted to try something like this, maybe do soul retrieval.
Yes. That's why I've always been so interested in it, because I understood that something was happening that I didn't have to feel responsible for. Because even when you go into hypnotherapy and past life regression, you feel a responsibility to get something out of it, and that you need to do some type of work. And for some people that might not work for them. It's not resonating with them. So I get that. I have had that experience.
Because some people, I will end up telling them about their lives. For me, it just feels like there's a missing component there if I have to tell you about it. But, you know, if you, and also I would encourage you to try it. I'd encourage you to try both. And I tell people it's just fun to do a past life regression, to be honest.
Yeah, it is. I did have a lot of fun, whether I don't know what it did. Some of them I don't know. I may not know exactly what it did, or I didn't feel anything super meaningful in the moment, but coming out of it, it was kind of like coming out of a dream that you were totally in control of. And so and several times I come out of them and go, why don't I do that on my own? Or why don't I turn that on YouTube and have someone do that? Because I just created all this stuff, it feels like. But at some point, it's almost like you're not doing it. Like when you're dreaming, you wake up and you dream about something. There are things you don't choose to dream about. So something's driving this imagination, but you're kind of letting it unfold as it should without as much ego, which is why they're putting you there in that state and why you're so receptive. And it's a really good state to be in.
We travel in our dreams to those different lifetimes and to the different libraries and,
Yes.
the place of time and space, the temple of time and space. There's so many different dimensions and places to go in our sleep, and some of that is working in different lives.
Yeah, I think so too.
I have a past life regression that I just did in my group tonight that I will get for you, Chris, so that you can try that out, because you would do great with it. But it's something that you can listen to, walk you through that past life, and kind of see what happens.
Yeah, I would love that.
And I posted about this recently on my socials. Is one of my favorite stories about past lives.
I saw that. That's
oh my God.
About the car.
Yes. I had a girl, she was Vietnamese. She came in, she wanted to get past life. We did one life. The second life, she was telling me about being in this 50s car. She was married to a famous boxer. They were driving in a parade in Washington, D.C. She was telling me all about it. And so typically what I'll do, very specific, and they were Black, and he was a famous boxer.
Interesting.
And she didn't, there were no names. However, I will switch the scene in the middle. I'll say, okay, we're going to fast forward to a significant scene that you need to see, and we'll go there in 3, 2, 1. She was pissed. I was like, well, what's happening? And she goes, the country's gone to shit. And I was like, well, what's happened? She was watching the television in her living room in that 1950, 60, I don't know the year, I don't. Kennedy had gotten shot, and she was watching it on TV. And I thought I would fucking die. I was like, holy shit, you can't make this up.
Right.
I mean, you could. If you're real good, you could, but that was not what I expected. And I've seen
if you're real good, you could. Yeah, I'm kind of wondering, I can come up with some shit. That's why someone like me is hesitant about getting the most or doing past life regression, because if you leave it in my hands, I can make up some shit. Okay?
Yes. Also, what I tell people when I work with them, and I told them tonight, whether you think you're imagining it or you are actually getting it, then let it play out.
Right.
Who cares if you're creating?
That was the whole struggle for me.
Story. Well, the thing is if you let it go, and then when you're done, be like, okay, that was fake or that was real. Just let it play out and see what you get, because you might surprise yourself. Let go of if it's real or not. Figure that out after.
Well, I think I could do that now, because I obviously give readings for a living, and at first it was very strange for me, because there are things that are in my face, but then there are things that are very subtle. It almost feels like it's so effortless. It's just ideas that pop into your head, and just knowing that you have that feels so effortless. It's like you're making it up. And when they validate it, but I've had now a lot of validation for things that I have just known for no reason. So it gives me more confidence to go in there. But the average person getting something out of past life regression, it can be intimidating, especially if you don't believe it, or especially if you're someone who, like myself, was told that my experience wasn't real, and I have trust issues with myself, trusting myself and that sort of thing. And how people will perceive me. Will they perceive me as being full of shit? I don't want people to think that I'm making shit up in my readings, which is why I take it very seriously. And which is why it bothers me if it doesn't resonate, because I don't want that experience for them. So I have had now a lot of validation that has given me so much more clarity on what it feels like to still be receiving and possibly be making something up at the same time. But with shamanic soul retrieval, I feel like I wouldn't have to worry about any of that.
Right. And what I'm being told to mention is, in a soul retrieval, you're just really relaxed and in a meditative state, just kind of laying there after you've, discussed a little with your practitioner. And so it will be a very peaceful experience. But, you might not feel anything, like, you won't necessarily experience a past life. And also you might,
Yeah, you might. I can see that.
because
I
you're
feel
going
like
to have a
shamanic soul
spiritual experience. Some people might.
I feel like shamanic soul retrieval is definitely super potent from what I have read
Yes.
for working with this life you're in now. Not that it's not coming from other places a lot, but going back to different times and different ages that will pop up during the retrieval where the trauma occurred. That may have been a trauma that found its way from another life in here, but in this life specifically, this is where it impacted and this is where it entered and started this chain reaction. And you can go all the way back there. And so I think that retrieving the soul does rewire the brain automatically, because the shift in your frequency must then alter the shift of the physical form that it rules. So I totally get that.
They just said, and in turn, shifting your dimension.
Yes, because then you technically, because you're shifting through different parallel universes and dimensions every millisecond, so you're literally shifting it so much that you're in a different timeline which you choose.
You're bumping your dimension up.
Yeah, and thus raising your frequency because you're healing. See, we're on to it. We nailed it. This is why it's the Chronicle of Chiron, folks. Chiron, just a little bit for those, because there are a lot of people on the planet who doesn't know what a Chiron is. So
Like a
Chiron.
churro?
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm so hungry right now. Now that you mentioned that. Um,
I wish you could have a churro.
Chiron is
Anyway, keep going.
a half asteroid, half comet in the center of the orbit between Saturn and Uranus. This is the energy of transmutation of pain into power. It is the wounded healer. It's our primal wound that we come in with. Your Chiron placement in which sign and house will give us a lot of specific information, but that shows you the direction or what the primal wounding is, which might have been the magnet that attracted all the rest of the stuff that occurred. Or it might have been something that you came in, if you get into spiritual astrology, that your soul chose to have that placement of Chiron to reflect something else that it went through, so that you would have this wounding and healing experience, which moved a larger energy out when you were ready. So there is a transdimensional frequency aspect to Chiron, because Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto take our consciousness to other levels and other dimensions. They awaken and move us into the higher frequencies. Saturn and Jupiter don't. They're physically focused still. They're about our physical experience. And Chiron is in the center between Saturn and Uranus. So to get from the old to the new, and to get from the physical to the non-physical, it is trauma and healing. You have to heal, even having judgment from the ego and witnessing it and saying, maybe choose a different response. That's Chiron energy too. It doesn't have to be this blown open shamanic soul retrieval dramatic thing. But now that we're talking about this, that placement can give you a clue about what types of things need to be healed. And from like someone like us, part of our wounding is our body and our sense of self. And so, because we both have Chiron in the first house, even though they're in different signs, but that leads us to things that are very visceral in our body, because we feel them very viscerally in the body. And that also, when we heal, our healing comes out through our body quite a bit. So as to a lot of people, but ours is about our body a lot. So
Yeah.
when you have that information, then you can make better decisions about, well, should I do shamanic soul retrieval, or should I do past life regression? You're working with a little bit different energy, but from the way it has sounded to me, shamanic soul retrieval can get you back in your body. It can focus a lot more on this life, where past life regression therapy or parallel life regression therapy can go even further specifically. And you might resonate with one more than the other. There are those warriors, like Cree likes to say. There's the physical warriors down here doing that spiritual in the body stuff. And then there's those of us coming out of our body and pulling in higher information, and both are needed.
Absolutely. And I love soul retrieval. Like, I love that energy that is.
Yes, me too. I'm very connected to that.
I love shamanic practices.
Me too.
So.
Me too. Very much so. I'm more shamanistic in my soul energy than witchy, although that still is there too. So I would love to do past life regression to find out where that is coming from, because you could just do that. You might have healed a lot and you're doing past life regression just to awaken creativity or to understand why you have such inclinations for certain things in this lifetime, just to understand yourself more. It doesn't have to be about healing a trauma. Where
Well, I
shamanic soul
told
retrieval is based in trauma. The
yes.
idea of trauma, it's based in that. That's a good differentiation.
What I told my group tonight was you could go back and look for your gifts. If you want to see what were my gifts? Now your gifts might be baking or whatever, but what if you went back to like, I want to know where my relationship with Chrystopher connected, or I want to see what my gifts were, or I want to, I want to meet my child in that life.
Which I think we can do on our own in meditation, but it gives you permission to do it when you don't normally do it on your own, or don't trust yourself. There's a lot of ego stuff that comes in that you might need some assistance with. That's where you would come in.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. I love talking about this topic tonight.
Me too. I think I have even now a better understanding of what I would use it for. I think past life regression is definitely healing. And when you talked about the gifts, that's so pertinent. You just keep psychically bringing up all the perfect points. Chiron is the wounded healer, and we talk about Chiron as revealing what your wound is, but not only just how to heal it or go about healing it. Like us, it's healing whatever that wound is through our body response. Okay, there's a gateway, but also what gifts does it reveal? Because Chiron also reveals a specific magic or power that you have to heal others and transmute energy.
Oh, wow.
So now that we've circled all of that together, I feel complete.
I feel complete.
Okay.
What you got going on this week?
Well, of course, I am the in-house intuitive astrologer for Eclipse over Roswell. You like my John Belsky kind of like WHAS 11 thing that I get into? Fucking love it. So I am the in-house intuitive astrologer for Eclipse over Roswell here in Atlanta, Georgia. I teach astrology classes every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can join us if you're in the Atlanta area in person, but if you're not comfortable or you don't live there, of course, join us on Zoom. You can pre-register for that class at visiteclipse.as.me/astro. I also am a psychic medium and an empath and an ascension and awakening coach. I like to call myself a coach now because I'm showing people what nutrition, because I have all that experience and now I know what it's all led up to, what the health coaching license was about, why it's all making sense. So I'm like, I'm now including a lot of that into my reading. So if those are things that you are interested in, you can book a reading with me at www.chrystopherwithayMedium.com. Take it away, Jess.
Awesome. I'm Jessica Tanselle. You can book a session with me at thejessicatanselle.com. I teach an intuitive circle every Monday at 7:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I do have a Facebook group where I talk about different topics each week. We're currently reading Anatomy of the Spirit together. I do meditations, live readings, and different topics each week. This Saturday, I have an in-person full moon ceremony at Healing Within Louisville at 7 o'clock. You can also book that on my website. I do have a few spots open. It's really a beautiful ceremony.
So it's people can't join on Zoom? Hey, that's okay.
The energy gets really intense.
Well, and I bet you don't want to have to worry about if any of that, and there's frequency stuff. I get it.
Yeah, and I would love to actually do it on Zoom, but the in-person for the full moon ceremonies is working great. However, I just launched my 4-week mediumship course.
Awesome.
I have a moon magic and rituals course coming, and so we will be talking about each moon cycle, each ritual, each ceremony, so you will have access to that via Zoom soon. So I love that magic and I want everybody to access that. So be on the lookout for that. I'm excited. But for those of you who are local to Louisville, 7 o'clock, you can book it from my website and I can't wait.
All right. Well, I am excited for that. I had no idea that was happening. So I'm very excited for you. And a lot of people are going to be getting a lot of good information. So thank you for that. Thank you for sharing all of these wonderful gifts that you have and all of this knowledge. So thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight for the Chronicles of Chiron, the Lion, the Witch, and the Healer. We'll see you all next week here on Soulfire at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You all have a wonderful night.
See ya.